Is Mel Gibson's highly anticipated sequel, The Passion of the Christ 2 Resurrection, set to test the boundaries of faith and controversy once again? After nearly 2 decades since the original biblical epic's release, the film is making headlines, promising to delve deeper into the narrative of Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. But what's the surprising plot twist? Who's returning to the cast? And will it rekindle the allegations of anti-Semitism that surrounded its predecessor? In this video, we'll explore the latest updates on Passion of the Christ 2 and its potential impact on both audiences and faith-based cinema. First of all, yes, Passion of the Christ 2 is finally getting into production in late spring 2023. The movie, called Passion of the Christ Resurrection, is hitting theaters almost 2 decades after the first one. What's even cooler is that most of the main actors are coming back to reprise their roles, including Jim Caviezel as Jesus. Word has it that this sequel has been in the works for 10 years, and Mel Gibson teamed up with Randall Wallace, the guy behind Braveheart, to work on the script. The film has gone through 6 different script versions and will tell the story of the 3 days between Jesus' crucifixion and his resurrection. When it comes to the cast of Passion of the Christ 2, you'll be happy to hear that Jim Caviezel is all set to make a comeback as Jesus. He's had quite a journey since the first film, diving into various movies and TV shows like Outlander, The Prisoner, and Person of Interest. He even got back into biblical epics with Paul, Apostle of Christ, where he played Luke alongside James Faulkner's Paul. And get this, he's been talking openly about the script for The Passion of the Christ Resurrection since as far back as 2020. But wait, there's more good news. A bunch of actors from the original movie, which is now 20 years old, are also returning to keep the Bible's epic story going. Maia Morgenstern, known for her role in The Seventh Room, is making a comeback as Mary, Jesus' mom. Francesco DeVito, who you might remember from The Man from U.N.C.L.E., will once again step into the shoes of Peter, one of Jesus' most famous apostles. And the word on the street is that Christo Gikov from In Memory of Me might be back as John, whose gospel was the basis for the Passion of the Christ. As for Monica Bellucci and Rosalindo Celentano, we're not quite sure if they'll be returning as Magdalene and Satan, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. The story of the Passion of the Christ Resurrection, initially, you might think it would be all about Jesus rising from the dead because, well, that's a big deal in Christian beliefs. The first movie did briefly touch on that, but here's the twist. The sequel is diving into the 3 days between Jesus' death and resurrection, a period where some Christians believe he descended into hell. Now, the first film had some scenes that weren't exactly from the Bible. They took inspiration from folks like Mary of Jesus of Agreda and Anne Catherine Emmerich, both Catholic visionaries. Anne Catherine Emmerich in particular had this vision known as the harrowing of hell. In this vision, Jesus basically storms hell, declares war on the devil, and tears down the place. Now here's the thing. This idea is only hinted at in a few Bible verses, which means it sparked some debate among Christians. If Mel Gibson goes down the road of focusing on this harrowing of hell, it might not be easy to get all evangelicals on board this time. It's a bit of a departure from the traditional story, you see? Now, let's talk about the allegations of anti-Semitism. Before the release of the film, there was quite a bit of controversy due to concerns about perceived anti-Semitic content in The Passion of the Christ. It was this controversy that led 20th Century Fox to pass on the film. They even told New York Assemblyman Dov Hikind that they made this decision after a protest outside the News Corporation building, influenced by fears of distributing a film that could be harmful to Jews worldwide. Hikind, in fact, warned other companies against distributing the film, stating that it would be detrimental to Jewish communities everywhere. A joint committee formed by the Secretariat for Ecumenical and Interreligious Affairs of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops and the Department of Interreligious Affairs of the Anti-Defamation League got hold of a version of the film's script before it hit theaters. They issued a statement expressing deep concern about the film's potential to promote anti-Semitism. They pointed out that the film's main plot suggested that Jesus was relentlessly pursued by a group of Jewish people, with the high priest Caiaphas at the helm, who ultimately pressured Pilate into condemning Jesus to death. This story has been associated with the perpetuation of anti-Semitism in Christian societies for centuries. The Roman Catholic Church, through Vatican II's document Nostra Aetat, and most mainline Protestant churches had already rejected this narrative. The statement raised questions about whether the film's basic storyline had been altered by Mel Gibson, who was seen as a fringe Catholic with his own church in Los Angeles and who appeared to reject the teachings of Vatican II and modern biblical scholarship. They feared that if the film adhered to this troubling narrative, it had the potential to undermine the efforts made by churches in the last 40 years to distance themselves from classical Christian anti-Semitism. The controversy surrounding the Passion of the Christ extended to concerns about anti-Semitic content. The Anti-Defamation League issued a statement before the film's release, highlighting the importance of filmmakers approaching the biblical accounts of the Passion with both artistic vision and solid scholarship. They emphasized that understanding the historical use of Passion narratives to disparage and attack Jews and Judaism was crucial. Without this scholarly and theological understanding, productions like The Passion could potentially distort history and stoke hatred against Jews. Rabbi Daniel Lapin, the head of the Toward Tradition organization, criticized the ADL's statement, suggesting that it implied renouncing one's faith was the only way to avoid condemnation from the ADL. Reviewer Katha Pollitt in The Nation criticized the film for violating guidelines set by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops regarding the portrayal of Jews in dramatizations of the Passion. She pointed out instances of unflattering depictions of Jewish characters and expressed concerns about negative stereotypes. In contrast, Jesuit priest William Fulco, who served as the film's translator for Hebrew dialogue, disagreed with these assessments and argued that the film did not accuse the Jewish community of deicide. In The Guardian, Geza Vermes, a Jewish biblical scholar and expert on the historical Jesus, wrote a highly critical review of the movie. He described it as gory, historically inaccurate, and potentially inciting anti-Semitism. Vermes specifically noted scenes in the film where Jewish characters appeared to take pleasure in Christ's suffering, which could be interpreted as encouraging vengeful sentiments. That's a wrap for today. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the latest updates on the Passion of the Christ II Resurrection and the controversy surrounding it. What are your thoughts on this highly anticipated sequel? Do you think it will continue to stir debate like its predecessor? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more intriguing updates and discussions. Stay tuned for our next video.